Hello everyone, my name is Vikas and in this session we'll talk about the constructor in the Solidity language. So we already spoke about few concepts in the Solidity language like the error handling, logging, then abstract contract, inheritance and the interfaces. So in case you have missed that session, so I will just share you the link about that post in the video description so you can just go over the same from your side. So in this session, so specifically we are talking about the constructor here, which we have in Solidity. So let's start with this one. So the very first question comes at what is a constructor in a Solidity? So again, the same thing which I have talked about in the last few videos, that the concept which we have in Solidity, the inheritance, constructor, abstract contract, and other few concepts, that is similar to what we used to have in the OOPS. Like if you talk about any programming language, C, C++, Java, and other ones, so same you might have used or you might have heard about in the past. So that is same concept which we have in Solidity, but how the syntax is used here and how it look like is not the same. But this is how but we'll see in this session about constructor, and we'll show you that how it is being used in the Solidity language. So let's start with that. So constructor is an instance method that usually has the same name as a contract. So what constructor means, so this is one kind of function which we have in a contract which has the same name as a contract. Okay, so or using the constructor keyword. So what we have actually in the Solidity, so syntax is being changed. So since you all aware that Solidity is currently under the development status, it's not fully ready yet. Okay, so every day we used to see some changes, some improvements, some new feature being added to this one. So this is how it is being used right now. But the constructor, so what we used to have in the past in Solidity, we used to have the constructor with the same name as a contract name, but recently that is being depreciated. Now the constructor is used with a keyword constructor, as you can see in this diagram. So constructor with the same name as contract name is no longer being used right now in the Solidity, but this is a new syntax which we have. But at very high level, constructor is nothing, just a function which we have in the smart contract, which help you to initiate your variables if you have any. Okay, like let's suppose in this example which you're taking, we are taking here member as a contract which has name and age. So we have defined a constructor which will get called as soon as someone creates this instance of this contract, and they have to pass the name and age as input parameters, and that will get assigned to these two values, name and age. So this is how the basic constructor look like in the Solidity, and we'll talk about more in the detail about this one in the Handson session. But for now, let's keep remember that this is a keyword which you have to use constructor when you use a constructor in the Solidity. There are few facts which you have to remember. A constructor set as internal. When you set your constructor as internal, that makes your smart contract as abstract. So we already talked about the abstract contract in one of the previous sessions, and where we have mentioned that if any one function which you have in the contract does not have any implementation, that is known as abstract contract. But this is one more thing which you're talking about here. When a constructor is set as internal, then it is also known as a abstract contract. So now constructor can be used by two ways which we are talking about here. The first way is that you are inheriting member smart contract in a teacher, and you, at the same time you are also initializing that member instance. So we are passing two values here, name and age, and that will call the constructor of member smart contract, and this value being will be passed to there. And another example is that you are not hard coding the values, but you are passing the value which you will get at runtime. So when someone will call this teacher, uh, create a teacher instance or call this teacher contract, they have to pass the name and age, and that will same will be passed to the uh, constructor of member smart contract. Okay, so we'll talk about more in the detail about these two things in the hands-on session, but this is, you have to remember that there are not, this is not only one way to call the uh, contract constructor, but there are two ways basically at high level. So let's go and jump to the Handson. Let's see that one, how this can be used. So first of all, what we'll do, as we do usual, so we create a new Solidity file and we will show you the sample about this constructor. So constructor sample, I would talk about constructor sample here. So we'll start with this one, Pragma Solidity, and the version I'm just going to use here 20. So then I'm going to create a contract here with the name same member, which we are doing for all these examples. So this member will have two variables. One is a name. Every member will have a name and they will also have an age. So what used to happen in the older version of Solidity, the constructor is defined like this way. Function member, like this way. Let me show you. And then uint age, then you used to have like this way. So this is how you used to have this in the past. Age is equal to age, but this you can still use, but as you can just see this warning, let me compile and just show you the warning which is showing here. So you can see here, defining constructor as a function with the same name as contract is depreciated. You can see it here. So you should start using this constructor keyword instead, right? So this is being depreciated. So you should not use this kind of syntax going forward. You should stick to the new syntax which we have. So I'm just trying to show you that in case you're using this one, you may get this warning. In case you try to use the same function name as a contract. So let me remove this one just to show that we are following the latest standard. So constructor will be used here now. Same thing you will require to as an input. You require age as an input, then you are making it a public. So what you will do in this constructor, you will assign name to name and you will to assign age to age. So now you can see there is no warning because this is the latest syntax which you have to use to define a constructor. Now how this can be used, let's see that one. So here what we'll do, we'll define one more contract, which is a teacher contract, which is going to implement or inherit this member. So now whenever you inherit a contract, another contract, you have the option to define the constructor here as well. You can define, okay, I'm just passing a name here, okay, member name and his age, and then this way. So this will, whenever you do this one, what it will do, it will create an instance of member and it will call the constructor with these values. So this kind of constructor call is usually made whenever you have some hard code values, right? So here we are hard coding the value as a mark, member name, and the teacher name, teacher age is 32, right? So this is how it will be used. And let me show you here now how this will work. I will use a function get name, and with the help of this function we'll get what name we have assigned to the teacher name. I will say public return string. Then in this one what we'll do, we'll return name, right? So what let me check by showing error. Okay, that is fine. Okay, now what we'll do, let's first of all deploy this one. So when you see it here, whenever we compile, first of all, let's compile this one. Teacher also, let's compile one by one. So this should compile both at one time. Now, what I want to do, I want to deploy a teacher. Okay, so if you see it here, I'm going to deploy. Okay, so when I say deploy, what will happen in the background? This is going to call this constructor of member and it will pass this two value of mark and 32. So what should happen? This mark should be assigned to this name variable and 32 should be assigned to the age variable. So when you will get this function, call this function get name, you should get mark as a output. Let's check that one. Click on get name here. So let's expand this one and just see, go down here. So your decoded output should show mark. So this is showing it here. So that means our constructor worked successfully, right? So this is the one option which you can try. This is how you can call the constructor. The another option which we have talked about, let's remove this one. So we don't want to hard code, but I want to get the value at runtime. So in that case, what you will do, you will define constructor here. So suppose you're again getting the value here, n as for name, a is for age, suppose, right? So now parallelly I want to call the member smart contract, where I will pass as n as input and underscore a as input as well, and that is going to be public, right? So this is one more option here you can see I'm not hard coding the values. In the previous option I have hard coded, but in this one I'm creating constructor for teacher contract, plus I'm calling the member constructor as well with the same value which I will receive for teacher. So let's see how this will work. Whenever we compile this one, we'll compile and then I will run this one as a teacher contract. Okay, now when you see here, whenever earlier we were hard coding the values to the member smart contract, now I need to pass 2 as an input, right? So first of all, I will pass my name as Vikas here, my age is 32. So when I say deploy, what should happen? So this should call the member smart contract constructor as well. They should assign this value name and age to these two variables. And when I click on this get name, I should get Vikas as an output. Let's click on get name. So you can just see it here. I'm getting a Vikas. So this is the two ways. This is how the constructors can be used in the Solidity. And this is, you have two options now. One is the hard coding value, one is at the runtime. So you can just choose the option which you need as per your requirement. But this is how it is being used generally at the Solidity. I'm hopeful that you have liked this video. So, and thanks for watching.